what they refuse to tell you about the Dallas Cowboys. So we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video. And if you want more Dallas Cowboys news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is that Dallas Cowboys Micah Parsons is now being considered the best player in the NFL right now. Another week down and another all-pro performance down for third-year edge rusher Micah Parsons, who got active early with a first-quarter sack on Zach Wilson before forcing a fumble on Dalvin Cook and adding another sack to his total in the second half. While his game somehow continues to find another level to reach, much like the defensive unit around him that has only allowed 10 points in 2 games, nothing that has happened to this point is anything that wasn't already planned coming into the season. "This is expected for where we want to go," Parsons said. "This game just means that you're improving. Finishing games, closing them out, smothering people, not giving them that hope and dream that they can come back in this game when they're on the same playing field as us. I'm very happy with where we're at right now." His hunger continues to pop off the field to anyone watching, and when asked about where his elite and unique motor comes from, Parsons was candid about what this opportunity with the Cowboys has meant for him and how he wants to pay it forward. "I'm just hungry," he said. "It doesn't matter where I'm at, I'm coming. I don't care if I'm gassed out, my lungs hurt. It's mind over matter. Every time I'm out there, I seize every opportunity. I take this extremely to the heart. This organization changed my life, so I'm trying to give everything I have back to the fans, back to Mr. Jones and all my teammates." Coming into the Week 2 matchup against the Jets, a lot of noise was made about the running back tandem of Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook after they exploded for 160 yards in Week 1. After the duo combined for just 16 yards on Sunday against Dallas, Parsons is ready for any challenge that the NFL can throw at his defense. "This offseason, we committed to say we're going to make these guys catch the ball," he said. "We're going to force them to let us rush. When we come down and set the tone and say we're not going to let you run on us and then go get our sacks, that's what changes everything. To all of the teams with those game plans, come on. Run at me, run at whoever. We coming." The defense was a big part of building the lead in Week 1, but it was the offense that set the tone with a touchdown on its opening drive in Week 2. With all 3 phases of the Cowboys team having scored touchdowns in the young season, complementary football only continues to be a theme within the locker room. "When you're playing balanced football from offense to defense to special teams, it's extremely fun," Parsons said. "We're having so much fun with this group. It's a special group, and I don't think people know just how special it is yet." The second story is Dallas Cowboys send a serious message to the rest of the NFL that they are a contending team. Dak Prescott led the Dallas Cowboys offense to a productive afternoon against one of the best defenses in the NFL on Sunday's game versus the New York Jets. En route to a 30-10 home win, the quarterback displayed a high level of football, displaying one important trait: efficiency. Prescott completed 30 of 37 attempts for 249 yards and 2 touchdowns. In particular, Prescott's connection with CeeDee Lamb stole the show as the number 1 wide receiver led the team with 11 catches and 143 yards. Despite a scoreless day, Lamb was the go-to on offense throughout the entire game. 8 different Cowboys players had at least 1 catch in the game. The Cowboys will likely be unhappy with their red zone performance, though. Too often, kicker Brandon Aubrey came in as the offense settled for 3. Mike McCarthy's offense went 2 of 6 in the red zone, and even worse, 2 of 5 in goal-to-go situations. Credit where credit is due. The Jets' defense played tight coverage and plugged every gap in those clutch scenarios. Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys have received an encouraging update after witnessing a scary medical episode involving assistant defensive line coach Sheriff Floyd. Floyd passed out on the sideline in their 30-10 romp over the visiting New York Jets. Floyd fainted while Cowboys linebacker Micah Parsons returned a Jets fumble to the end zone. Unfortunately, officials nullified the touchdown return and ruled it a fumble recovery on New York's 37-yard line. Nevertheless, the Cowboys were relieved when Sheriff Floyd got up on his feet. He went to the locker room so team physicians can examine him further. A team source later reported Floyd was okay, per CBS Sports' Tracy Wolfson. The Cowboys' other staff members took over Sheriff Floyd's coaching duties on the defensive line. The 32-year-old Floyd spent his entire 5-year NFL career with the Minnesota Vikings from 2013 to 2017. The Cowboys hired him to become their assistant defensive line coach in February. Shari Floyd made headlines when he sued famous sports surgeon Dr. James Andrews for $180 million in the fall of 2018. Floyd's lawsuit claims Andrews used a pain blocker during a knee surgery that resulted in muscle and nerve damage 2 years earlier. Sure enough, Sheriff Floyd never played in the NFL again after filing his lawsuit. As for Dak Prescott, he passed for 255 yards and 2 touchdowns as the Cowboys overwhelmed the Jets on Sunday. He also didn't throw an interception for the second straight game. Will Dak Prescott continue his hot streak against the Arizona Cardinals in Week 3? Back in the offseason, when it was announced that Mike McCarthy would take over the play calling, he made a comment about running the ball more this season. That phrase has been echoed over and over and diagnosed to the highest degree as everyone tried to figure out exactly what that means for this year. Well, to me, I think McCarthy had this Cowboys-Jets game in mind when he made that statement. Okay, so obviously he wasn't thinking about this Week 2 matchup that was supposed to be against Aaron Rodgers, but rather games that play out like this, where the defense is in total control of the game, and the only way the opponent can really come back and win is if the offense and/or special teams makes a mistake. Once again, they didn't do that. And once again, the Cowboys end up blowing out a team that entered the season with pretty high hopes of making the playoffs and perhaps doing some damage in the postseason. But after 2 games, the Cowboys are simply jumping out to a lead and then grinding out the win, making sure there is no comeback on the table. And if that means running the football a little more in the red zone when you've got an 11-point lead or a 14-point lead, so be it. That's the way you play winning football, because that's what wins in this league. Asked in his post-game press conference what complimentary football means to him, Dak Prescott simply said one word: winning. To him, being efficient on all sides of the ball will result in victories like this, again. Now, will the Cowboys get to do that every week? Of course not. There will be games in which they're going to have play more aggressive, take more shots into the end zone, and certainly not settle for as many field goals. But this was not one of those games. And honestly, it started in the first 2 drives on Sunday. Say what you want about the analytics of winning the toss and deferring to the second half, but that's not what McCarthy did on Sunday, probably because he knows the importance of getting out to a lead. It happened last week against the Giants, and for the most part it happened against the Jets too. Now they didn't pull away until the second half, but they did get an early lead based off of taking the ball down the field and scoring right away. That was a message. The next one was on the first play. The Jets had the ball, and DeMarcus Lawrence blasted through the line to tackle Breece Hall for a 4-yard loss. We all knew the Jets had to establish the run to make a difference, and that was a sign that it wasn't going to happen on this day. The Jets finished with just 54 rushing yards, and 36 of that came from the quarterback on the move. Hall and Dalvin Cook combined for 16 rushing yards. If you do that in any game, coupled with the pass rush ability the Cowboys have, you're going to win a lot of games. And because of that, there's no time to make mistakes on offense. So if you're a little worried about the offense because they're now averaging 28.5 points a game on that side of the ball, I'd relax a little bit. If you're worried about the offense not scoring a touchdown in the second half or settling for too many field goals, then I hope you weren't one of those overly concerned about Dak's interceptions last year. To me, you can't have it both ways. If you want the Cowboys take care of the football a little better, especially down in the red zone, then what you're going to get is games like this, where the Cowboys choose not to beat themselves and just keep kicking field goals and adding to the scoreboard. I had no problem with the way the Cowboys were calling the game in the second half because it was clear to everyone that the Jets were not going to be able to move the ball up and down the field and catch up. Here's another point to remember. McCarthy doesn't play fantasy football, and he definitely doesn't care about your team either. He's not going to try to find ways to get everyone a touchdown to make them feel better. He didn't force the ball to Michael Gallup, who has yet to make an impact this year. He's not going to reward CeeDee Lamb for his monster stat game by throwing a pass to him in the end zone. No, it was running the ball with Tony Pollard, playing it safe with easy throws to the tight ends and making sure all the drives ended with points. That's the recipe to win games like this. Is it the most exciting brand of football? No, probably not, except for the final result. But you can play this way because of an absolute dominating defense like this. It's not fun football, not fantasy football, but it's winning football. The third story is Jerry Jones addresses the lawsuit allegations against him. In his first public comments about a racial discrimination lawsuit from former NFL media reporter Jim Trotter against the NFL, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones said statements attributed to him are not accurate. According to the lawsuit, Jones told Trotter that if black people want more representation in decision-making positions among NFL organizations, they should buy teams. Some of the representation is not accurate, Jones said after the Cowboys beat the Jets 30-10 on Sunday. It's just not accurate, but I do, and I want to and have worked very hard to get minority ownership in the NFL, spent a lot of time on it. And I'm all for that, of course. Trotter's lawsuit, which also alleges a racial comment by Bills owner Terry Pegula,